Hey folks, I'm Sean C. Davis. I want to give you another Crayonable update. I was playing around with this with my kids last weekend, and we added a few things, and we made a list of other features that we want to add to really hone in on this. But I started to recognize that all of these drawings really started to look the same regardless of what kind of prompt we put in. And we saw this in action last week. Remember, if I go to my pages now, I mean, these prompts are all over the place. And yet, if you take a glance at them, I'll make this a little bit bigger. They all essentially look like they're the same style created by the same artist. And if you recall, this was the one that we played with in my update. And I did get this to look slightly different by being really explicit about who I wanted this created for. But even when I said make this for a teenager, like it made this thing that it doesn't look like a coloring page for a teenager. So we've made a few changes, and there are a few more changes that are in the works, but I wanted to give an update here. And what I have is I've copied the prompt from this one, but then I remembered this was actually something where we very specifically and very explicitly tried to violate copyright just to see what would happen. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to see what happens with both the style and the correction of the prompt itself. So let's take a look here. I'm going to come up and I'm going to say generate new. And I need to remember that we've got, who we got? Moana. And what was it? It was supposed to be Lilo and Stitch. And then the tiger without the paw from Aladdin. Okay, so we are going to say Moana surfing, riding a giant wave along with Lilo, Stitch, and the tiger from Aladdin. Now we have a new field in here this time. It's called style, and we can choose bold and simple, lots of detail, or storybook. And also we have this styles option. So any user can manage their own list of styles. So you could, let's say you wanted an anime style that you could create a new style, give it the prompt, and then that prompt gets injected alongside the system prompt, and it's given enough weight that it should change kind of the actual output. For this, bold and simple was sort of meant to be what we had before, and every account now kind of comes with this this default set of styles. So what we're going to do here is let's start with, in fact, I don't even know if I've used Storybook yet. So let's try Storybook. And then we're going to click Generate. And now, instead of just saying, nope, that's not going to work, use this prompt or go use your original one, now we have more of a, here's what I think you should change. Which one do you want? And so it's kind of cool. It says some of the characters are from specific movies, so we need to create our own versions that have the same fun vibe. I love your surfing scene idea. A few of those characters are from movies we can't copy exactly, so here's what we could do. A girl surfing with her best friend, a small fuzzy blue alien, another girl, and a striped tiger. And just describe your own version of these characters. Now, I'll do this, and I don't think we're going to quite get there. It feels like we need this to be a little bit more. I think we need it to be more detailed to actually get what we want out of these things. In fact, I think this might throw it back at me. Let's see if this is actually the prompt that we had. It still includes the Moana, Lilo, and Stitch and Aladdin. So I feel like we're gonna get denied. And I can come back to I'm going to come over to the database just so you can all see what's happening behind the hood. I'll give it a little refresh. I've got this, I should have a new image in here, because even before the image is created, as you notice, we don't have an image yet. It's being created. We do store the prompt, and this is how we are able to kind of show, but essentially what's happening behind the scenes here is that we should be pinging this. You can see, yes. So every, about 2 seconds or so, we're pinging the back end and saying, do we have this thing yet? 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 And the back end keeps saying, no, no, no. But we have captured the prompt, and eventually, in theory, we'll have the image URL. But this makes me feel like something went wrong and we didn't get the right feedback there. So let's take a look at our functions. You can see how I debug these things. The background function is probably where something went wrong. Yeah, so, okay, as I suspected, the prompt was not fixed in the right way, and we threw an error, but we're not reflecting that error on the front end. So we have some work to do here to clean that up. But let's try something that isn't then going to throw an error. In fact, I think, one thing that really bothered my daughter was that this scene had all of these footprints around it. She was like, I didn't ask for footprints. All right, so let's just see. Maybe what we can do is we'll take this prompt and we'll see how it looks different with the bold and simple, but then we'll also see how the different styles come out a little bit differently. And one thing we can notice here is that got flagged is that she has a contradiction where she says no people, but then she uses herself in the first person. And so the system should flag that as well. And I'm going to come back to the database here. And that one, I think, is this. Yeah, it's this one. Okay. So let's generate new this time. And we'll say bold and simple at first just to see what happens. And so my expectation here is it's going to say you've got a contradiction at first. And then we'll probably end up with something that's relatively close to what I had before. Here it is. Yeah. You said no people, but also you can pet them and you are sitting there. So should the picture show you in the lounging place or just the elephants and cats without any people? And we're going to say just the animals, no people. And then, yeah, you mentioned about 200 kitties, then 3,000 kitties. That's a big difference. Which one sounds right? And we're going to say 200. 3,000 seems like a completely unhinged number of cats to show in a single coloring page. Holy smokes. Okay, so again, we're a little bit more accurate here. This is hysterical. This one is so funny. Now, one thing I added here, and we're going to add some more features on this, is that we now have the ability to change something here and show, you could say, actually, I wanted to be in the photo, or you could say like, actually, I wanted more like 50 cats. This is too many. And we've adjusted the credit model. Now, all of this is just MVP testing that we're playing with in my house and iterating on it. And if we get it to a place and there's some interest, I can open it up and let other folks play as well. But the concept here is if there were money attached to it, that a credit at least earns you 3 tries at a particular image so you can iterate on it. Now, did that change it? That didn't really change it too much. Let's try one more and say, no, how about 10 cats and 2 elephants? Simplify it. And so as this is getting generated, now the previous prompts are being sent to the AI agent in the appropriate context, so that we don't have to retype the whole prompt every time. And I see a number of bugs that we should address, and we got the same image 3 times. Okay, so I've found a lot of bugs here, but let's see if the style actually works, because so far we have completely failed. Holy smokes. Okay, now let's go back here and do the same thing This time we're going to say lots of detail. And we should, in theory, get the same level of feedback. So we're going to say, the buttons are a little bit different, but just the animals and the furniture, no people, and around 200 cats. Tons of cats everywhere. No, just around 200 cats. By the way, I love the way my daughter's brain works. Just this stream of consciousness. You can buy them for $5. Okay, so here we go. This stylistically, it looks so much different. Now, there are a lot of problems with this. Like, is that a cat melting into the rug? That's kind of wild. These patterns on these these sofas and chairs are, well, it's aggressive. It's very, very aggressive. But we have a different style. And, we can just for fun, let's use the same one. And let's go down here to storybook. So one of the things that I'm going to play with in this next one, next iteration, aside from fixing these details. Oh, this is interesting. So this time it didn't come up looking for a different number of cats. So let's see what happens. But one thing I want to change is the ability to pick a different preset or style in one of your follow-ups so that you can, and then we're going to show all of the versions. Let me see where it goes from there. Okay, so this storybook is honestly not too different from the other one. So I think we'll play with that a little bit. We're going to fix, I noticed a bug with this counter here. We noticed a bug with the follow-up, but it's progress. We at least showed that we can generate something that is stylistically adds some interesting value, and it adds some stylistic and creative freedom and passes that on to the user. And it also brings some validation so that we can start to hone users into being able to create things without needing to totally rework their entire prompt. But there are a number of issues here. We know our counter's got some issues. We know that we're not actually replacing the copyrighted content in a meaningful way, and in a way where we could probably get close to that style. That's something I want to nail. And then the flow just has to be a little bit cleaner. So those are things I'm going to go back with. I'll tinker a little bit over some of the build time this weekend and see where we can get to. But it's fun. It's really fun to dig into this. And I tell you what, one of the things that I'm really enjoying with this process is seeing my kids interact with it. And it's just not something I've done a lot throughout my career. I've gotten to build things, but I'm always quite removed from the people who are using that thing. And so to see somebody interact with it and then say, oh, yeah, I've used it, but I've used it in this way. All right, now I see how you're doing this and how you think it should work. So I'm going to use that information and figure out how to iterate from there. But that's it for this week. I'm Sean C. Davis. See you next time.